Hello and welcome to this little video diary, and the focus of this video will be the game Rise of the Triad, which is a game with emphasis on going fast. It's not fast, tribes fast, but it's fast enough, and it's not only fast, you also get to run around and shoot people with guns. And developers are basically trying to sell the game as a as old school FPS shooter. And if you didn't know already, the game is actually a remake from the old Rise of the Triad game. A game which I haven't played at all, so I can't really say if it is a good remake, but I do like to shoot people with guns, so I can comment on that. But before we will begin talk about the game itself, I would like to mention that the game has some technical problems. I played the game at October in 2013. And at that date of time, there are some problems with the game. If if the rumors I heard is correct, then the problems were more severe at the release of the game. But at this date of time, there are still some problems. I have experienced multiple crashes, which is, never really that good, and I had some quite severe frame rate problems. Lowering the graphics quality did help a little bit, but I still had some problems at certain locations in the game. I also experienced in-game events not triggering when they were supposed to, so that I couldn't advance in the game. I also encountered some graphical glitches in the game, and overall the game feels a little bit. I would not say unfinished, but it certainly could use a little more development time and be patched up a bit. And now that I have mentioned that, I would like to just talk about the game itself. So let's start to talk about how the game looks. As you can see in the video, the game looks awful. Just look at that horrible old school texture game map. No, but it's alright. I mean, it's nothing impressive. Certain location looks alright. Certain locations looks quite old. But at the end of the day, it's not a triple AAA title, and it looks fine. It doesn't look fine enough to justify the frame rate problems, but it's overall okay looking game. And I would also like to mention that the visuals in the game also is a little bit varied from mission to mission, so it's not always the same. They have the castle, the lava pits, the science labs, and so on and so on. So it does change a bit, which I quite enjoy. The animations doesn't look all that good, and at general, when things starts to move, they kind of look a little bit less fine. But hey, it's in a small game development team, so I'm not going to complain about that. But the gameplay itself is it's based around a couple of key elements. It has the normal fights, the boss fights, the finding of secrets, and the jumping puzzles. And I would say that are the major components of the game. So let's start with the normal fights, with the average grunts they throw at you. And it's alright. I mean, the thing is, it starts alright because everything is new and you have like 2 projectile weapons and a couple of different RPGs. But when you get further into the game, you notice that it kind of stays the same, and the normal enemies doesn't really challenge you. And I think the problem with this is, one, the enemy AI is, it's dumb. It's really, really dumb, and it really hurts the game that the average enemy is, just rock dumb. Call it a throwback to old school FPSs if you want, but it hurts the game. And secondly, I would like to talk about the enemy variety. And there could really have been more kinds of enemies, and I understand that this is a small time development house, but in an FPS you really need to have a lot of different enemies to spice it up. And the game really doesn't. And thirdly, I would like to talk about the weapon variety. Now the thing about the game is that you have your 2 projectile weapons with unlimited ammo. And these weapons are not rubbish at all, actually. I played on the second hardest difficulty, and I can handle most situations with them alone. Now the RPGs in the game are pretty cool, but you get them all pretty early in the game, and they don't really carry the game the whole way through. So, I think that the game would greatly benefit with some new cool weapons. I mean, why not a shotgun? I do like me some shotguns. Yes, I do. But the combat is, it's alright. I mean, for the reasons I just stated, the game gets a little bit repetitive because of the combat. But it's still fun. And, the pace of the combat, the speed, is something that you really don't get from most FPSs. So the variety of that does help the game quite a lot. So enough about the combat. Let's talk about the jumping puzzles and the different traps and blah blah blah. So some people really doesn't like jumping puzzles and the like in a first-person view. Personally, I don't have a problem with it as long as I have my trusted quick save button. And the game does have quick save, so yeah, I believe that the game really benefits from having this kind of puzzles and traps because it varies the combat and the game really needs that. Now, some jumping puzzles got a bit annoying, I must confess, and some traps felt a little bit unfair and perhaps not all that well thought out. But overall, I like me some puzzles and traps. I do like traps. I love traps. Yeah, traps. And now, when we have talked about traps, let's talk about secrets. I do like me some secrets as well. So, yeah, secrets. Now, secrets are always a nice touch, and I did enjoy them in this game. I believe that they got a bit stale later on in the game. It is possible that they just didn't find the cool ones, but I think early in the game we found new weapons and some stuff that actually made me giggle a little. But later on in the game it was just coins and coins and who cares? Which ties in into the whole not a whole lot of weapons. But I would also like to mention that I didn't find a whole lot of jokes and references and stuff like that at the later stages in the game. I don't know if it's possible that I just couldn't find them, but it's also quite possible, if not likely, that the developers put more stuff into the early part of the game, and then when the game was perhaps rushed out, they didn't put as much stuff into the middle and the later sections of the game, which is a bit sad. Now the game also had some boss battles, and yeah, I kind of enjoyed them. The thing is about boss battles is that they give a welcomed change of pace from the normal kill thousand of baddies. So yeah, it was alright. I mean, the boss battles in themselves wasn't all that well thought out and hard or difficult, but it was a nice change of pace. It's not anything game carrying, but it was nice. But overall, I had a nice time with the single player. No, it's brain dead, it's dumb, but it's fun. It's a podcast game. You put a podcast or some video commenter in the speaker, and then you play it and relaxes, and it's nice. Now let's see. Have I forgotten to mention anything? Yeah, some enemies can feel a bit, bullet spongy with the normal projectile weapons. And one thing that annoyed the shit out of me was that some projectiles didn't go through the empty spaces in between fences. And yeah, that was extremely annoying when you shot a rocket to a fence and the open space between fences, and it didn't. It just exploded and the guy behind it was kind of unhurt, and yeah, that was awful. Now the multiplayer part of the game is sadly kind of dead. I have gotten in one or two matches with like two or three people. When I get into a match, it's fun, but it's dead. And that will be the end of this little video. Thank for listening. If anyone does listen to this, and yeah, bye bye.